You know what's the most exciting time of year for me is when I get to talk about my team. I guess it's really not my team, but because as I grew up a Wizards, Timberwolves, Magic fan, but since like working in the media, I've just kind of like it's weird. My fandom isn't like what it used to be. Either way, let's talk about these Wizards. We're in the first year of the real rebuild, they're saying. And for me, I really do believe that this is going to be a year that I hope we get to see the deconstruction of the roster. And I was a really big Denny Avdija fan, so it was hard to see Denny Avdija leave. But I understood that it was time. And with that being said, I think we're going to really cash in on Kyle Kuzma this year. We're going to send him to a contender, hopefully get like 2 second-round picks or at least a pick and some young players. It's just a similar situation. I think we can get more value than what PJ Washington went for. Dude, I love Corey Kispert, but I know somebody's going to trade for him. I'm just ready to see Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr, Keyshawn George, Carlton Carrington all just go there. I also really hope Sadiq Bey works out as a reclamation project and that we can flip Malcolm Brogdon. But yeah, we're going to suck. Dude, it's crazy that we tried trading Johnny Davis and Patrick Baldwin. Well, Johnny Davis sucks, but I really was thinking that Patrick Baldwin was going to work out. We have Rajon Holmes and Marvin Bagley both making more money than Jonas Valanciunas. That's wild to me. Either way, what do you guys think as we go into this video? What do you guys think of the season? We're going to be terrible. I want us to get the number 1 pick. Honestly, maybe even the 2nd pick. Because at this point, I think Ace Bailey would be a better fit for us than Cooper Flagg. Because Cooper plays the same position as Alex Sarr, but if we got Ace, hypothetically, we could run Bilal Coulibaly, Ace Bailey, Keyshawn George, Alex Sarr. Well, and then we just need a point guard, which could be Carlton Carrington. Because in that lineup, it would be, I guess, either Keyshawn George or Ace Bailey would be the power forward, or we just go 3 wings. But yeah, we're going to suck, and I wouldn't be surprised, though, if we're good to start this season, if our vets play really well, like Jordan Poole and stuff. Again, I think Jonas Valanciunas, again, is going to end up in Los Angeles. I could see Kyle Kuzma being traded to the Sacramento Kings for, like, Kevin Huerter and 2 first-round picks or whatever picks they can give us. Just a situation like that. I just can't see Jordan Poole being traded somewhere. Like, who's going to take Jordan Poole? Like, unless, and I don't mind Jordan Poole, but unless the Orlando Magic really need somebody or the Spurs really want somebody, I just don't see a team. I think we might be stuck with him. I think Rajon Holmes is just going to be, same with Marvin Bagley, might just expire, maybe use as salary filler. But yeah, I'm ready for the Keyshawn George, Bilal Coulibaly, Alex Sarr. Hopefully we keep Corey Kispert show. And I'm happy we brought back Jared Butler and Tristan Vukovic, in my opinion. Just saying. We brought in Sadiq Bey on a 3-year, $30 million deal. I thought that was a great deal, in my opinion. I think Sadiq Bey at this point, when you're looking at a guy like that, you have a guy who, if you look at his best season, he was actually a guy that I think was actually developing well and then stagnated, and then he started to like figure it out last year, and then he tore his ACL. But in, what was it, year 2? Yeah, he shot just under 40% from the field, but he shot 35% from 3, 5.5 rebounds, 3 assists, like a steal, block a night, 16 points a night in 33 minutes. I've always thought Sadiq Bey coming out of Villanova, I mean, at this point, I'm just surprised he just didn't end up on the New York Knicks. Seemingly, they love everyone who comes out of Nova. But I just thought Sadiq Bey was a guy that coming out of college, he was going to figure it out. He was the type of guy who he's got good size and length for the wing. He's got multiple skills. He's got a good jumper. He can kind of, be like a guy who can kickstart a fast break, and he can guard 1 through 3, maybe even 1 through 4. He's got like a 220 frame. And he seemingly seems to be a hard worker that people like. So I really like that one. We bring back Anthony Gill on a minimum 2-year deal, which means the NBA subsidizes that contract. We don't pay anything. It's nothing against the cap. We bring back Richaun Holmes because we just needed to spend money. So we basically give him a fat 1-year deal with no money next year to make it easy to trade. Now we got to talk about why Denny Avdija got traded. No other time are you going to get a first round pick unprotected and then another player for Denny Avdija. Now the whole thing there is, the other thing is you also have a pick swap with the Portland Trailblazers in one of those years. I might be wrong, but yeah, I am wrong. Either way, you do have some second rounders. And the whole thing for me is, when I look at this situation, is Denny Avdija was at his peak value, and I love Denny Avdija. I'm so happy Denny Avdija figured it out, and he's, I actually met him in Las Vegas, and he's going to be a guy that's going to have a great time in Portland in terms of individual success. But the fact that we got a second round pick and a first round pick unprotected for Denny Avdija, and then if Malcolm Brogdon plays well and somebody actually wants him, and he doesn't just sit on a roster, I think because he's an expiring, people might want him a bit more. But Malcolm Brogdon, last year on a bad team, he only played 39 games, 16 points, 44% from the field, 41% from three. Past 2 seasons, he's been above 40%. And I just think there's going to be somebody out there that's going to give him a second round pick. So potentially you could walk away with, multiple picks. You could even, if somebody really wants Malcolm Brogdon and somebody else wants Malcolm Brogdon, you could maybe even walk away with another first round pick. So you could, the fact that Denny Avdija turned into multiple picks, especially with the Portland Trailblazers 2029 pick being one of them, which I'm sorry, Portland isn't a really well-ran organization. So I'd like to bet that 29 pick could be a lot more valuable than we think. Next up, why did we bring Jonas Valanciunas? We needed a center, guys, especially with Alex Sarr. Alex Sarr is not a center. Alex Sarr, best case scenario, is a poor man's Jaren Jackson Jr., which means he's not going to be a strong rebounder. He's just going to be kind of like a 3-and-D guy, so you got to have a guy like Jonas Valanciunas, like Richaun Holmes, who's there. I like us bringing back Tristan Vukovic. Yeah, we cut him and then brought him on a 2-way just because I think they're like, look, bro, you're not worth that money. We're going to give that roster spot to somebody else. You have a 2-way. Guys who are on their last legs, Johnny Davis, Pat Baldwin, they need to figure it out, or they could be guys who are shipped out or cut. Like Baldwin or Davis could get cut for Justin Champagnie. And they drafted Carlton Carrington, who I love. He's kind of got he's like a smaller, like Karis LeVert feel to him. I really like him. I think he's like herky-jerky. He's fun. And we have Keyshawn George, who's a point forward who I think is really skilled. I think going into the season, Alex Sarr might come off the bench, and Kuzma, Corey Kispert, Bilal Coulibaly, and Jordan Poole will start, with Carlton Carrington, Malcolm Brogdon, and Corey Kispert off the bench with Richaun Holmes backing up Jonas. The expectation, from my understanding, is Jonas will be eventually traded, because Jonas, this was the best situation for him. He'll establish himself. He'll be the rebounding presence that also help them improve their defense that was last in second chance points in all the NBA and 29th in points in the paint, points allowed in the paint. They got a rim protector. They got some good size. He's also a really good player in terms of rebounding. So I think that's what I mean? So to me, when I look at this situation, I think the biggest thing is Corey Kispert took a jump. He had 13.5 points, played 70 or more games for the third consecutive season. He also, his 459 3-pointers are the most in the first 3 seasons of a Wizards player in their history. So they were able to, I guess they lost Tyus Jones for nothing, but shout out them for not overpaying and staying steadfast and believing that they didn't need to give him all that money. So Saddiq Bey is a 3-year, $20 million deal. Tristan Vukovic, a 2-way. Richaun Holmes got a 2-year, $25.9 million deal, but the second year is fully unguaranteed, so don't expect him to stick around. Looking at this team, I think the next step is we got Kyle Kuzma's values at its highest. I think this is the year Kuzma probably gets traded because we could walk away maybe with 2 first-round picks from a contending team, maybe more. I do believe that if at some point, we'll do this in our protection video, I think the guys to expect to maybe be off this roster by the end of the season, Jonas, Kuzma, and Brogdon. I really do think by the end of the year, Richaun Holmes, Bilal Coulibaly, Corey Kispert, Jordan Poole, will be like the guys in the starting lineup. Carlton Carrington, Jared Butler, Keyshawn George, Vuk, maybe Sadiq Bey's back and he's starting. But I think just like at that point, like we'll have definitely shifted to more developing young guys and continuing the tank. I think in the beginning of the year, we're going to play a very vet-heavy lineup. I would not be surprised if, by the start of the season, it is Jonas, Kuz, Kespert, Brogdon, and Poole. And they run Poole at like shooting guard and Brogdon at point and Kespert at small forward and Kuz at power forward, and then have, off the bench, Koulibaly. Or they start Koulibaly and they have Brogdon off the bench or Poole off the bench. But that's my whole thought process. It just makes too much sense for them to be like wanting to do it like that. I don't know. I just feel like they'd be wasting their time if they didn't do that. So I just think they're going to play a lot of vets to start the year. And then by the end of the season, you're just going to see a bunch of guys get traded by the deadline and then them just go with their young dudes. But that's it. We'll do the prediction soon. This was recapping the offseason. We were just trying to really, our assets sucked and now we have some assets. I mean, we walked away with 1, 2, 3 first round picks. Who would have thought, ladies and gentlemen?